tourism. So it's a pretty awesome place, Chicago is, for architecture. You get those goosebump moments just by looking at the beauty of some of these buildings. Well, Toronto is exactly the same way. In fact, I would say that Toronto is maybe as beautiful as Chicago with its architecture. So just having that opportunity to open my mind, open my eyes, so I can experience what I'm seeing, that's how we create awe. So awe is within our grasp at all times. And I'll talk about that at the end of the lecture, which is coming up pretty soon, actually. So let's go to the next slide, please. So what does awe provide? Now, when I saw this statement, I'm going to show you, let's see if I can do this. Probably can, yeah. This is one of this particular book is one of the references, and I don't know if it's been translated into Chinese or not. It's fairly recent. I think the copyright is 2 or 3 years ago. And so most books do get translated pretty rapidly into Chinese, and so this one may be. So if you're looking for more information about what awe is or want to understand awe in a lot more detail, this would be one of the books I would recommend that you take a look at. And this is the other one. This was the first book I read on awe a couple years ago and got me really interested in this topic. And again, I don't know if it's been translated or not. It's an older book. But the idea that the sense of awe can change our world is based on science, particularly this volume. These were scientists that did this book. And the main author and his mentors and then his graduate students that wrote this book, are pretty incredible in terms of the scientific research that went into it. Very well-founded studies, well-designed studies. So a conclusion is that awe does provide a way for us to change our world. Now, it's all about perception. It's all about everything that's happening around us. I had an experience recently, which it really seemed negative. Everything, I couldn't really get outside of my head. The experience was so intense until I kind of stepped back a little bit, allowed myself to be present for what was going on. And then I could fully experience and feel the emotion of everything that was happening around me. So it can change our world, at least in the moment. And that moment can change everything, or at least give you a glimpse of how things can be different. So the intent of this particular slide is to provide you an opportunity, and I hope you take this opportunity on a daily basis to have an experience of awe. I think that would be really, really good. So I hope you will understand that if you want to change your world, even if it's only for a glimpse of how things can be different, find yourself looking for and experiencing awe opportunities. They will exist everywhere, every single day. I guarantee you, if you look, you can find an experience that will provide awe. Let's go to the next slide, please. So what does awe provide? Well-designed studies have strongly suggested that awe experiences enhanced critical thinking. Remember, we had a whole lecture or half of a lecture on critical thinking very early on as to what critical thinking is, the importance of critical thinking, and how critical thinking can keep people away from very conspiracy theories and all that kind of business. So awe experiences enhanced critical thinking. but also enhanced creative thinking. Creative thinking. Oftentimes I do writing, and when I sit down to write, it's usually with this sense of, oh, will I be able to come up with the ideas? Can I come up with the words to express those ideas? So, it can be difficult, but excuse me. But what I've discovered is when I can kind of step back a little bit and let the process unfold and just be present, then there's a flow, and flow and awe are oftentimes described as similar sorts of experiences. But when I can let things be and let things flow, then I think that opportunity for creativeness is much higher. But awe also is a way of being able to do that. So when my wife and I, as I mentioned, we travel quite a bit. And one of the ways that we travel is through it with a motorhome. We have a small motorhome. And we love being in that motorhome. We love being in nature in that motorhome because it provides us that sense of creative thinking. And we have the most interesting discussions when when we have that opportunity to experience awe. It just thinking about it kind of gives me goosebumps. So thinking about experiences that give us awe can also give us awe, if that makes sense. It improves our health. My wife and I are pretty fortunate. We're moving up in age, and yet we're fairly healthy. We don't have any chronic problems. We don't take any medication. And we've got, good blood pressure, good cholesterol. We don't suffer from chronic illnesses. And I think in part is because both of us have experienced and like experiencing these awe moments. And I truly believe, and again, going back to this book, if we take a look at the scientific research and the notes that are in the back of the book, we can see some very specific ways that awe experiences will improve our health. Enhances a sense of embeddedness into collective folds. So that sense of belonging, that sense of connection that we've been talking about all semester. I think both of those can be enhanced with awe experiences. An increase of pro-social behaviors such as kindness, self-sacrifice, cooperation, and resource sharing. So what does that sound like? It sounds to me like that's very similar to social interest. So I don't think anybody has written about this, or if they have, I haven't seen it published, about the relationship between awe and social interest. What is that relationship? Remember from that first slide when we started talking about awe, does awe cause recovery or does recovery cause awe? I think it doesn't matter how we answer that question. I think there is a way that our life can be much greater with this sense of kindness, self-sacrifice, cooperation, and resource sharing that's related to awe, according to the science of the book that I just mentioned. So if awe increases these things, then how can we then increase our opportunity for awe? Let's go to the next slide, please. So awe is one of the few emotions that can reconfigure our sense of time and immerse us into the present moment. And I think as I think about this first bullet, I think that's one way that we can most likely experience awe more often is if we can get into the present moment. You heard me say this earlier in the semester that stress does not exist in the present moment. Stress is a relationship to the past or a relationship to the future. It's hard to be stressed when you're in the present moment. Also, being in the present moment then gives us the opportunity to experience awe. And isn't that a goal, to live in the present as much as possible? I think it is. I don't think we can always live in the present because, unfortunately, the past does matter. But does it have to define us? Unfortunately, for many people, they let their past define them. Or we're so focused on our goals, or we're so focused on the future. We think if we can get that job, or if we can get that spouse, or if we can do this, or if we can do that, then our life will be perfect. Well, our life will be perfect usually when we're in the present and we can experience things like awe. So that should be a goal, to be in the present as much as possible. So, can awe be induced by intentionally being in the present? I think so. That's how I would answer that question. I think when we're in the present, we can more often. The more often we're in the present, the more likely we're going to experience awe in just ordinary, normal day-to-day activity. Next slide, please. So, what ways can we experience awe? One way is through collective effervescence, and it would be things like weddings. I think in the last 10 years, all four of our children have gotten married, and each marriage ceremony was different. But each was just incredible in its own way. We're not rich. We don't have a lot of money to spend on celebrations. But weddings are special. And so people do tend to spend a little bit more money in making those happen. But I've been to weddings that didn't really seem to give me this awe experience. But with all four of our children, those weddings did. And partly because of the relationship we have with our children, but it's also part of this collective concept of being together, experiencing the joy of love, being able to experience the joy of a wedding. So, other celebrations. My wife and I are tentatively planning on having a ceremony in which we celebrate our 15th wedding anniversary, and then my 70th birthday, which was a few months ago, and then her 70th birthday, which is upcoming. So we plan on having a celebration, but that celebration isn't to celebrate us. It's to celebrate everything that's part of who we are. I'll have several friends of mine that I've known over 50 years participate in this celebration. We're going to have live music. We have a five-piece band that will be playing music that's important to us. And so I imagine the celebration for those that are truly present at the celebration, being not just being there, but also experiencing what we're experiencing, will experience that sense of awe. Sporting events. I know Taiwan is different than the United States. The United States tends to be pretty crazy about sporting events, and Taiwan's getting there. I certainly have experienced in Taiwan sporting events that are just like in the United States, where there's this sense of celebration, the sense of excitement, the sense of awe in the ability of the athletes. So sporting events can oftentimes, again, if we're present, we have to be present. Our mind can't be in the past and can't be in the future when we're experiencing this. I never saw Michael Jordan play basketball, but I imagine it was an awesome experience if you're present to experience it. So just because something is awesome that's happening in front of you doesn't mean you're experiencing it unless you make yourself available for that. Same with nature. Uh, I do believe, and there's a pretty large section in the book about nature and how nature creates opportunity for awe. I think awe or nature is healing. I truly believe that nature heals. So the more often we can be in nature, the more often we're going to experience awe. Music in general. Uh, I like live music more than anything else, I think. However, I like music in general. So I'm home by myself and will be for the next week while my wife continues to help care for Otis. So I have a lot of time on my hands, and I fill that time by listening to music. And by listening to music for me, it's not just hearing familiar songs. I particularly like to hear music that I'm not familiar with, and then really listen to see how it was produced. Why is the bass loud here but not as loud there? How do they use tempo? How is rhythm used? I don't know too much about music, except I love it. And so if I love it and I can really listen to it, then it can provide this awesome experience. Visual design. Visual design can include a lot of different things. It can be a visual design that's on a wall sometimes called wall art. Uh, it can be a building. It can be something that's constructed. Usually at good art museums, there's a nice visual design to the building itself that's usually very, if we pay attention, can be very awesome. Photography. Why do some pictures really speak to you and others are just snapshots? What's the difference between a snapshot and a beautiful picture that really speaks to us? Um, Spiritual and religious. Every single religious and spiritual tradition um, um, really are trying to experience these awesome moments. Some years ago, I was doing research with traditional Native Americans. And traditional Native Americans are Native Americans that have not integrated into the larger culture or society. They try to maintain their own religion and traditional pathways and spirits. And I was interviewing a medicine man. A medicine man is a very powerful person within the tribe. And this particular medicine man was fairly young. He was probably in his early 30s or so. And I was talking to him about, you know, uh, what spiritual traditions can bring to the recovery process from addiction. And he invited me to a ceremony that usually you don't get invited to. It's a very private ceremony, religious ceremony, in which individuals were actually walking on hot coals and not burning their feet. Hot coals, charcoals. I saw this, and it was awesome for me to experience it. But it was because of the spiritual and religious tradition that this person was able to successfully do that. Just incredible. Um, my wife was very ill. We went to a healing ceremony that was based on Christian religion. It was a very awesome experience. So, spiritual and religious traditions, just going to church can be awesome in itself or not, depending on how present we are. Stories of life and death. I think most people are very attracted to memoir and biography and autobiography. Why? Because of how they inspire us, how they give us a sense outside of ourself. And when that happens, that can be a very awesome experience. And then the last one on this particular slide is epiphanies. These all of a sudden I understand, or a problem that I had before, all of a sudden I understand the solution to it. Uh, okay, I think we have one more slide. Let's go to that, please. Thank you. So, do you want more awe? And I think the answer to that should be universally yes, more awe. Give me more awe. How do we get that? Well, we have to be open to and mindful of. So that's the first thing. Um, my wife and I live in a fifth floor apartment, and every day we look out and we see the most awesome sunsets in the world. It's just beautiful. I have a whole file folder on my iPhone of literally hundreds of sunset pictures. almost every single day, I can look out of my patio and see just this beautiful sight. Now, that doesn't mean it's awesome to me. It means it's beautiful. I have to be able to open myself to this experience. That happened yesterday morning. I said I returned from Toronto yesterday. Actually, it was the day before. So yesterday morning, when I woke up very early, I woke up about 4 o'clock in the morning because I'm still on Eastern time, which is 2 hours ahead. Um, uh, I was waiting for the sun to come up, not waiting for it, but I was here. And all of a sudden, I looked out towards the mountains, which I hadn't seen in a week. And I took a picture of it and I immediately sent it to my wife because I know it would cheer her up and make her feel very comfortable. And it did. So we have to be open and mindful to be able to do it. So I use sunsets and weather as an example. One of the things I like most about living here, I grew up where I live right now. I grew up about 4 miles away. And I always thought that the whole world was like how I grew up. It was beautiful. It had great weather. Well, that's not the case at all. Every place is different. Every place has their own beauty and has its own weather. But where I live, we oftentimes see weather coming in. The storm clouds start to come in, the rain or the snow starts to occur. And to me, that's an awesome experience also. I think my wife is coming around. When she sees bad weather, she just wants to get comfortable. She wants to stay away from the bad weather. I want to move to the bad weather. I want to see the bad weather. I want to experience the bad weather. She said if I had a different career in my life, it would probably be being a weatherman. So I'm open to weather being an awesome experience for myself. And then, as you can imagine, seek out live music, seek out art galleries, theater, live theater, museums. And like I said before, even movies can be awesome experience. Spending time outdoors and allowing unstructured time for exploration. So that's how if you want more awe, that's how you go about getting it. So I think that's the last slide for my lecture. Let's see, how much time do we have? I'm about out of time, aren't I? Is
Yes,
that correct?
we still have 20 minutes.
Oh, 20 minutes. Okay, good. So now I'd like to, first of all, does anybody have any questions about what we just covered about awe? Any comments, any questions you want to make about it to help us understand this concept even more? Anybody?
I would
Okay.
like to just share some of my learning from this session. Is actually all is try to live at the present moment. So
Mhm.
whatever the small things from your from the nature, or if you live in the present moment, so you might get more
Mhm.
or that you
Yeah.
in the past or in the future. Yeah, this is my learning. Yeah, thank you.
Good, good. And I think that's a great point to take away. Uh, Taking responsibility for who we are means, I think, trying to move towards being in the present as often as possible. Um, my wife and I are coming to Taiwan in about 10 days or about 2 weeks from now. And to me, that's always an awesome experience. I love Taiwan. I love being there. And partly because of the newness of the different experience. I experience different things every single time. First time I came to Taiwan was 1972. And the last time I was here was about a year ago. And there's just something that attracts me greatly. It's everything. It's the cities, it's the mountains, it's the transportation, and we don't have to seek it out as much as we have to just be present for. So seeking out and being present for, they're related, but we can just be present for. We don't have to we don't have to go hundreds of miles or travel all these different things to experience awe. In fact, sometimes when we do that, we don't experience it because we have an expectation, and that expectation then limits the ability to experience awe. So thank you for your comment. Any other comments or questions before we move on? Okay, what questions might you have about the final exam in terms of the questions that I may be asking you for the final exam? Does anybody have any specific questions about
Yes,
that?
I would like to ask some question about the reflective paper, because the questions was asking is write a critical thinking paper or reflective paper on your personal change program. Is it some questions that we review this before the session start, the 4 slides? So is it can be related to that 4 slide?
Um, I'm not sure I understand your question. Try again.
Um, because the question was asking is write a critical thinking paper, because this is a quite generic question, so I didn't focus what is the requirement needs. So because just now when we start the session, we have review the agape love and some of the other topics.
Mhm.
So is it can be related to that 4 specific topics, which is is purposeful and meaning, agape love and suffering, and social interest. Is it can be reflected on this 3 points and for.
Yeah, it don't make it more difficult than it needs to be.
Oh,
So there's not, I want it to be your reflection on what you
okay,
think is important. And
okay,
it's real open-ended. There's not,
okay,
I'm not looking for anything specific. I'm looking
okay.
for what you have to offer for that question.
Okay, understand. Because when I do the review in the beginning, so I might related some of my family members and or even to myself. So I just write something related to what can reflected on myself, so that
Right,
I can write in the paper.
right. That's right.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Then I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Some other questions. Okay. I want to thank you all. This was a difficult time for me, meaning that there's a lot going on in my life that's been very, very positive, not very much negative. And I kind of felt disconnected from the class, particularly in the beginning. Um, and I apologize for that. I usually feel very connected. And I think the fact that I was doing it without having you be present, I know it's always difficult to get students to discuss when it's not their language, when it's a second language. I know that's difficult, and I admire your bravery for those that attempted to do so. I think that I started to feel very connected more recently as I gave more opportunity to feel uh, the importance of what we're doing here. And I do hope that you can take some of these points, whether it be critical thinking, whether it be agape love, whether it be understanding how important social interest is. If you can try to move beyond just getting a grade for a class and then moving on, apply some of this information that you've been given by me and others that you can incorporate into your life. And if you do that, then you can give that to others that are around, whether it be your significant others, whether it be your children. I know we all want our children to study hard, get good grades, get into good high school, get into a good college, get a good job. And so we tend to be real focused on goals, but goals are a little overrated. Yes, we need goals, but are the goals consistent with our purpose and meaning in life? And so when we're young, we're doing everything our parents tell us to do, we're doing everything our society tells us to do, and yet we still feel empty. Why is that? Well, go back to social interest. Go back to try not to be so competitive and try to be more cooperative. Um, and what I enjoy most about Taiwan is the people. Friendly, easy to get along with, but also very competitive. And competition is not all bad, but it's not all good either. And there's more to life than competition. There's more to life than just achievement. Of course, we want to achieve at a high level. We want to be successful in whatever our pursuits are. And it's disappointing when we fall short. For example, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I was good, but I would never be good enough to be a professional baseball player. So what I learned to do was to love baseball and not just be goal-oriented. Does that make sense? So I hope I've been able to give you a glimpse of that. Usually you get a lot more of me than I've been able to give you this semester, just because I've had so many other things going on, so many distractions, good distractions. The fact that we were able to spend, I guess we were able to spend about 2 months of Otis's first 5 months alive, 2 months with him, seeing him develop, interacting with him on a daily basis. And that's where my head has been. Being supporting our daughter and that sort of thing. So I hope that you feel comfortable with some of the topics that I talked about, being able to incorporate it into your life. And I don't know how many more classes I'll be teaching, probably not that many more. And so this will be one of the last ones. And I do appreciate the topic and the interest that you have in it. And I look forward to interacting with you at some time in the future, perhaps. So I'm going to say goodnight or goodbye for now. And thank you very much for everything that you've contributed to the course. And I think I had a question. Let's see if I can find it. I think. Let's see. About the exam, will we get questions only next Friday? Yeah, I think that's true. The question is about the exam, will we get questions only on next Friday? And I'll let your professor answer that question, but I believe that's the way it's formatted. And so again, thank you very much. And I'm going to say goodnight and take care and do good work.
Can I request to take a group photo together so that I can have a kind of a memories for our this short 3 months periods?
That's fine with me. Is that okay?
Okay. Okay, so can
How do I make,
all of us
how do I
turn
make that
on
happen?
our camera? So okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me try, and then I will share it into wait, let me check whether has or not. uh
There.
Sorry, give me a moment.